So Tisha spoke on family, and she spoke about how, we have at Bethesda, we have these core of this vision that we have at Bethesda, and three kind of parts of that are encounter God, healthy family, revive our world. And I was like, well, I want to camp out on encounter God because that's smart. But you cannot have healthy family and you can't have revive our world without encounter God. You have to have it. And so what I like to do, when I take something, I think, okay, encounter God, and I would start examining it from every angle I can, right? What does it mean to encounter God? What does it look like? Why do we encounter God? You start just asking all the questions. Questions are healthy. We need questions. For some reason, there's this stigma in church that we can't ask questions. And it's no, ask questions. Jesus answered questions with questions. Questions are good. Questions challenge us and make us grow. My therapist asks me really hard questions, and I pay him money to do that, and I don't like when he does that. But I need those questions because it makes me grow. I'm like, oh man, why'd you have to ask me that one? Thanks, God. Thanks. So I like questions. So in analyzing Encounter God and asking the questions, the question that I kind of landed on, and want to start off this morning in, is, who is this God that we encounter? It's a pretty important one to know who I'm encountering, because there are a lot of variations of God out there. I grew up Presbyterian. I grew up this viewpoint of this angry God. That's what I knew. I have good news. He's not angry. We're going to go through that. We're going to talk about that. I'm going to prep you right now. He is not angry. But that's what I knew growing up. That's how I experienced God. And we can say, I don't, so many people, we don't need theology. We just need Jesus. I'm like, do you know what theology means? Theology means it's the study of God. It's how you know God. Everybody has a theology, whether you realize it or not. It's how you encounter God, how you experience Him is based off of what you believe about Him. If you believe God's an angry Father, you're going to encounter an angry Father, right? When Jesus tells the parable of the talents, the one that hid it, He says, when He comes, He's like, "What did you do?" And He's like, "Well, I hid it. Here you go." He said, "Because I know that you're an angry master, so I hid it." And God's like, "Oh, I'm an angry master. Okay, I'll be the angry master, because that's how you view me. That's what you're going to experience, is the angry master. Because you can't see that I'm actually benevolent and loving and empowering. Instead, you see me as angry, so all you're going to see is angry, right? If all we want to look for is the bad in situations, you're going to find the bad. If you want to look for the good, you're going to find the good. So what are we focused on? How do we encounter people? How do we encounter God? So who is this God? The Bible tells us a lot about it. It's a good book, a good place to start. But I'm going to start in, I'm just going to say real quick. In 1 John, John gives us this beautiful phrase that is so simple and it's so profound. That is not it. We're not going with that, John. We're going this. I didn't give you this verse. That's later. We're not there yet. It's a really good verse, though. We're going to get to it. But it's 1 John 4, right? God is love. 3 words. It is so simple, and yet it is the most profound statement. God is love. Just right there. We leave it right there. That's service. That's good. See you guys next week. That was fun. We can do altar call now. Have the ministry team come up. God is love. Right? And we love, the verse goes, we love because He first loved us. But how? How do we know God is love? Besides the Scripture telling us. If we're sitting here thinking, well, I'm even questioning all of this. How do I know God is love? Give me proof. Give me evidence. Well, to do that, I want to take us on a journey, because I like going on journeys as we go through scripture, and we're going to go all the way back to the beginning because it's a good place to start. And we have God, and he is hovering over the waters of the deep. Right? He says, let there be light, and light bursts forth. And so there's the people that say, like, I wish I was back there. I mean, I imagine that'd be pretty traumatic. All of a sudden, you're in this darkness, and it's like light bursting forth everywhere. But he creates, right? He creates, he shapes the world. He shapes the planets and the stars, and he forms the depths of the oceans and forms the mountains. He creates living creatures. We get plants and vegetation. We get fishies and animals and fishies. We get all these things filled earth. And then he says, let us make man in our image. Let us make man. So he creates them male and female. We have Adam and Eve now in the garden, enjoying this fellowship with God. And this like eternal bliss. And what happens? Vegetarians, man. Took a bite of a fruit and weren't supposed to eat. I'm kidding. I would. My wife was like raw vegan when I met her, so there's amazing stuff out there with all vegetarians and vegans and all that. But I will always joke that vegetarians or vegans cause the fall of man, and that Jesus came and he died, so that he could reveal to Peter to don't call unclean what I've unclean, rise and eat. Go eat some bacon, okay? Have some bacon now. That's the gospel message right there. Eat bacon, okay? I'm from the South. I'm from the South. I love my smoker. I love my barbecue. There's nothing wrong with being vegan or vegetarian. There's nothing wrong with it. It is amazing, and there are health benefits for it. And I'm like, all right, guys, let's focus right now. Okay, we're focused. They're in the garden. Eve is deceived. She bites the fruit, hands it to Adam. Adam partakes. And in that moment, a loud and resounding no bursts forth from the heart of God. And that no has echoed throughout eternity. And we have taken it as it's directed at us. It was not directed at us. It was directed at sin, because in that moment, sin, the entity, the disease, the corruption took hold in humanity. And he said, no, that wasn't my purpose. That wasn't my design. That's not what I had for you. But in that no was an even louder and resounding, yes! Yes, I am for you. Yes, I will make this okay. Yes, I will redeem this. Yes, I will fix this. And we see, right, Adam and Eve then hide. So all of a sudden their eyes are open, they feel shame. So they hide. Who comes looking for them? It isn't them going to look for God. Isn't God like, well, I can't stand the presence of sin anymore. I'm separating myself. No, he comes looking for them. Saying, hey, where are you? Adam, Eve, where are you? And like, we're here, we're hiding. Like, why are you hiding? He's even then is offering them an invitation. Hey, you can still be with me. We can still have fellowship. We can still have relationship. Kicks them out of the garden. And we see throughout all of Israel's history, throughout all of history, God continually pursues humanity. Continually. He befriends Abraham. He makes a covenant with Abraham, which I love because it was a one-sided covenant. I don't know if y'all know this, but when God tells Abraham, hey, I want you to get these offerings, get these cows, you're going to cut them in half, you're going to lay them. And the deal with the covenant is we are going to walk between them together, and we're making this covenant. He puts Abraham to sleep, and God's like, I got this. And he walks through. So I'm saying, look, you can't contribute to this. I'm taking care of this. I said it from the beginning when I screamed that, yes, I've got this. You can't do anything for it. Just receive it, right? It's Anthony's offering message. He took care of the whole battle. Hey, you guys don't worry. I've got this. And so we see he makes Israel his chosen people. He continually pursues them. And they continually withdraw, right? And they'll be like, oh God, we're so sorry, because he confronts them. And they're good for a little bit, and then they're like, we can't handle this. And they run off, and he continues to pursue them. And then something amazing happens. It just so happens that the Lamb, who was slain before the foundations of the world, steps into time and takes on flesh. Right? John 1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God, and all things came into being through him, and without him not one thing came into being. What has come into being in him was life. And the life was the light of the people, and the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness did not overtake it. He was in the world, and the world came into being through him, yet the world did not know him. He came to what was his own, and his own people did not accept him. But to all who received him, who believed in his name, he gave power to become children of God, who were born not of blood or the will of the flesh or of the will of man, but of God. And the Word became flesh and lived among us, and we have seen his glory, the glory as of the Father's only Son, full of grace and truth. From his fullness we have received grace upon grace. The law indeed was given through Moses. Grace and truth came through Jesus Christ. No one has ever seen God. It is the only Son, himself God, who is close to the Father's heart, who has made him known. That's that verse. That's John 1:18. So up until this time, did you catch that? No one has seen God. No one. They may have seen types and shadows. They may have had their own ideas of who. Because see, what sin did was it corrupted our viewpoint, right? It changed us. Paul tells us in Colossians that we were enemies of God in our own mind. God was never like, hey, I'm your enemy. God's like, I love you. I'm pursuing you. I'm coming after you. And we're like, no, you're our enemy. You know, like, we're going to fight you. And that's how we viewed God. So no one had seen God clearly until Jesus. Jesus made God known. He said, this is what God is like. I'm going to display to you what God is like. You've had it wrong. No one has seen him clearly. And why can he do that? Because he is God. We can flip over to Hebrews 1:1-3. And it says, long ago, God spoke to our ancestors in many and various ways by the prophets. But in these last days, he has spoken to us by his Son, whom he appointed heir of all things, through whom he had created the worlds. He is the reflection of God's glory and the exact imprint of God's very being. And he sustains all things by his powerful word. He is the exact imprint, the exact representation of the Father. So how do we know? What is God like? Jesus showed us. Jesus showed us who this God is that we worship. My kids, I have a book that I read with my kids that I love. It's called Jesus Showed Us. And every page is, what is God like? Jesus showed us. And it goes through all these different gospel stories of how Jesus displayed exactly what God is like. Jesus showed us. How did he show us? He showed us by healing. He showed us by, he showed us by healing. He showed us by caring and loving people. He was always gentle, always kind, right? You watch The Chosen and you're just like, how come that Jesus has never been preached, right? That Jesus looks amazing. He's friendly, he's loving, he's joking. We see him in that he never judges or condemns. Right? When the woman's caught in adultery, he doesn't condemn her. He forgives her and sends her on her way. He literally says in the book of John, I think it's in John, it could be Luke, I think it's John. He says, the Father has given all authority to the Son, to judge. And then it's like a chapter later, he says, I judge no one. Woo. I can feel the tension on that. Guys, it's rigged. He's like, hey, I'm the judge. I have all the authority to judge. And I'm not judging you. I'm not condemning you. I love you. I'm redeeming things here. I'm bringing things back to even better how they should be. Because it isn't just going to be you're going to walk with fellowship with me. We're going to walk in union. You're not going to be able to escape me. You can't hide from me no longer. He perfectly revealed the Father's heart. He displayed and proved his love for us, and that while we were still sinners, he dies for us. The ultimate, right? Jesus says, this is the greatest display of love, the greatest way you will know that you are loved is that someone will lay down their life for you. And Jesus is like, hey guys, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to lay down my life for you because I love you. Like, there's going to be no way that you can say God does not love me. Because I'm going to show you the ultimate expression of love. And it's for you. My kids, right? He didn't wait for us to have it all together either. Like we ever could. I think we had a long history of showing we couldn't do it. And so he literally steps in. He's like, yeah, you know that covenant that I made with Abraham, that I made with myself? I'm going to just jump in onto your side and I'm going to take care of it. My kids, they're learning the power of their words. And we're in the phase right now, where they get mad and they're like, I hate you. And I remember the first time I was like, oh, yes. They said it. One, because I'm like, I want them to be able to express, hey, they don't know how to say, I am frustrated with you right now, Dad. I'm upset. They're 4 and 7. And they're like, what's the word? Oh, yeah, I hate you. You took away my Legos. It's just like, rah. And so I want them to be able to express that, but even when they say that I hate you, it's like, it's okay, bro, I love you. I love you. How often have we sat there and said to God, I hate you? And he's like, it's okay, I love you. I love you. And so, this God that is love, why do we focus on encountering him? This is like, who's God? There's why. Why do we spend this time devoted to? How many churches have you ever been to where they spend over an hour worshiping? Yeah, not too many people are like. We do that every week, multiple times. I remember those days. It isn't normal. It isn't normal. We've put this emphasis on, we want to encounter God. We want to experience this love. And why? Because it transforms us. Right? There's a guy named Godfrey Burrow has a great song, Just One Touch from the King. It's just one touch from the King changes everything. Changes everything. One touch. One glance of his eye, we're undone. We look at him and he's undone. He's like, all right, what do you guys want? What do you need? Anything, it's yours. Right? And when we encounter him, we see these fruits, we see these miracles, we see signs and wonders happen, not because we've tried to muster anything up, but because it's just his love oozes out, and all of a sudden we see people healing. So we have Scott up here giving a testimony of being healed of cancer. Why? Because God loves Scott. We see lives transformed. I literally had a guy message me, did not know me. He texted me, he's like, hey Kyle, I got your number from a friend of a friend. I'm really hurting, I need healing. Can we meet? And I'm like, yeah, sure, okay. I don't know who you are, and I don't even know the friend of the friend that he got his number. I don't know the guy, I don't know how he got my number. But I meet with him. He is a cessationalist, and he was dealing with seizures for 2 years. He's been dealing with seizures, and he was ready to kill himself. He's like, I'm done with this. I don't want to live anymore. This is torture. And So I meet with him, I pray, he's like, so you hear people? I'm like, well, I don't, but God does. And that's, I share stories. We pray. He enjoys it. I was like, you should come to church on Sunday. So he came like 2 weeks ago. He came and he asked me, he was like, so on a scale of 0 to like rolling on the floor and barking like dogs, where are you charismatically? And I'm like, wow. Are there ones above that? I've seen some crazy stuff. But he came, and I sent people to go pray for him. Oh, Siri found stuff, guys. And sent people to pray for him. And he texted me later. He's like, hey, I don't know if I'm healed yet, but I found the hope and the encouragement to continue on. Why? Because he encountered a God that is love. He encountered a God that is love. He realized, no, my life is valuable. I'm loved. I'm seen. I'm heard. I can walk this through. Right? We see in his presence, in his love, right? That's where healing takes place, where transformation takes place, it's where reconciliation takes place, it's where redemption takes place, it's where freedom takes place, all because we have a God that loves us. We have this exchange that takes place. Before I encountered the love of God, I had written off God. I didn't believe he existed anymore. If he did exist, he was some cosmic being way out in the distance that didn't care. And my friends drugged me to a church. I was a freshman in college. My friends drugged me to a church service. There was also a girl going, and I was like, hey, I'll go to the church service. All right, this sounds good. And I don't remember anything. I don't remember the songs. I don't remember the message. I just remember the presence of God. And I remember him being right in front of me and just love, just gushing over me. I'm just like, oh my gosh. I was holding over, just bawling my eyes up. So he's real. He's real. He's real. He's real. Oh my gosh, this love is real. I've never experienced anything like this love before. My roommate at the time was this short little dude, and he's just sitting there just patting my back, not knowing what to do, we're just met each other 3 months ago, and I'm like, life changed forever from that point because he was real. All of a sudden I encountered a God of love. It wasn't this angry God in the sky that I had been raised on. It was a God who actually cared. Now I want to make this disclaimer. I'm gonna wrap this up, but one disclaimer, because while I love the fruit that happens out of encountering God and why we value it and why we want to spend this time. But greater still, James Torrance, amazing, wonderful theologian, says greater than the experience of Christ is the Christ of my experience. Sometimes, I'm going to give this little caveat, sometimes in charismatic culture, which I adore and love, and I found so much freedom in, we get so caught up on the encounters and the experiences, and we lose sight of Jesus, who it's all about. It is all about Jesus. I love Bernard of Clairvaux. He says, I have no desire for visions and dreams, clever stories and twists of language, even angelic visitations bore me. Jesus himself outshines them all. That one challenged me. I was like, oh, even the angelic visitations? That's so cool. I was freaked out, like, all of a sudden this angel manifests right in front. It's like, I have a message. I'd be like, ah! And he's like, no, that's boring. Have you seen Jesus? Oh. Psalm 16, right? In his presence is fullness of joy, and at his right hand are pleasures forevermore. Who sits at the right hand of the Father? Jesus. He is our pleasure forevermore. That is where we find our satisfaction. That is where we find everything that we need in life is in Jesus. Who is this God that we worship? He is Jesus. He is a God of love and grace and mercy and truth, and we get to enjoy him forever. That alone right there is worthy of our worship and adoration for millennia upon millennia upon millennia upon millennia for eternity. Forget all the other stuff that he did. That right there is enough. I want to end it with this. Lauren, can you come up? I want to end with this. Let's go ahead and stand. And I'm going to take us back. I heard this kind of analogy a little bit a while ago, and I didn't make it my own, but we're going to go with it. We're going back to the beginning, back to the garden, right? And we have Adam and Eve. And Eve takes a bite, right? She's deceived. And I like to picture now that in that moment, Adam actually felt there's a separation. He felt something's different with my brother. Something is different with my wife. What happened? There's distance that wasn't there before. And so, he takes the apple. Say, okay, I'll join you. I'll see where this goes. I'm not going to leave you. Jesus, Paul tells us in Corinthians, is one of his names is the last Adam.
Yeah.
So I believe just as Adam looked at Eve and he felt that separation, Jesus looked at his bride, he looked at us, and he said, oh, okay, I'll bite the fruit too. I'm going to dive in. I'm going to take on flesh. That word flex is sarx. It doesn't just mean your skin. He dove into all of our darkness, all into our disease. He took on sin upon himself. He stepped into our corruption and our disillusionment. He took it all on so that he could crucify it. So that he could kill it. So that it would no longer bind you. Isn't that a beautiful picture of just Adam? Adam sitting there. I can just see it. And he feels it. He all of a sudden, I didn't even know if he's right there. Eve might be over here. And all of a sudden he's like, what just happened? What just happened? And in that same sense, Jesus is, what happened? Okay, I'm coming to you. I'm going to fix this. We're going to get through this. And so, this morning, I want us to do two things. One, if you are here and you have never accepted Jesus as your Lord and Savior, you've never encountered this God who is love, I want you to come forward. Can we have the ministry team? I'm going to go ahead and just have the ministry team come up. If you're on the ministry team, come on up. Bethel team, that's for you too, if you guys want to come up and join. And if you're here this morning and you're like, I've never encountered this God of love, I want you to come forward.